guys ever go at it in in a real situation?
No, I was a professional fighter. I fought professionally then, and Bruce was very, very good, but he never fought in the ring.
Really?
No, he never fought in the ring.
Okay.
There's a big difference. Kicking the bag is one thing. Getting in the ring and having someone kicking back at you is a whole different story.
You're working back on the breaking news. The family of Chuck Norris saying that the Walker, Texas Ranger star has died at the age of 86.
So we got to talk about something that is genuinely sad, and honestly, it hits a little different for a lot of people, and that is the reported passing of Chuck Norris at the age of 86. And I'm telling you right now, and this is not just another celebrity headline. This is one of those names that is permanently embedded in American culture. And this is a guy that had multiple generations grew up watching, whether it was his fights with Bruce Lee, his action movies, or sitting down in the afternoon with your grandparents watching Walker, Texas Ranger. And for a lot of people, that wasn't just a show, that was a ritual, that was family time, that was part of growing up. And that's why this actually hits, because Chuck Norris didn't just play tough guys. He symbolized something bigger. He represented discipline, strength, masculinity, and a kind of American grit that you don't really see celebrated the same way anymore. So, on top of that, he became something almost mythical in pop culture. The jokes, the memes, and things like that. Chuck Norris doesn't do push-ups. He pushes the earth down. Death once had a near Chuck experience. Those don't last for decades unless the person behind them actually meant something. And according to reports, it's like he got sick while in Hawaii and ultimately passed away. And as expected, people are reacting. But what's interesting is not just that people are reacting, it's how they are reacting. Because you're seeing two completely different responses. One that is normal and one that is honestly disturbing. And that difference tells you everything you need to know about where we are culturally right now. Because moments like this reveal what people actually value when it really counts. And that's exactly what we're going to break down today, because this is bigger than just Chuck Norris. This is about the state of our culture right now. So hit the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. And I want you guys to check this out. So as you guys can see here, Justin, Chuck Norris's family released a statement after the legend passes away at 86. It is with heavy hearts that our family shares the sudden passing of our beloved Chuck Norris yesterday morning. While we would like to keep the circumstances private, please know that he was surrounded by his family and was at peace. He lived his life with faith, purpose, and unwavering commitment to the people he loved. Through his hard work, discipline, and kindness, he inspired millions around the world and left a lasting impact on so many lives. This is the most recent video of Norris on his feed. It dated March 10 of 2026, obviously. As we grieve this loss, we kindly ask for privacy for our family during this time. Thank you for loving him with us. So this is the current video, as you guys can see on the screen here, of the last video on Chuck Norris' feed on March 10th of this month.
I don't age, I level up.
He said, I don't age, I level up. Now, when you look at how normal people are reacting to this news, it's exactly what you would expect. And honestly, with Chuck Norris himself, probably would have appreciated, people are posting memes and they're telling jokes and they're sharing those classic one-liners that have been around for years. For example, like this one. Death once had near Chuck experience. That's a meme. And then the second one is, second fade, when he was born, Chuck Norris drove his mother home from the hospital. Then you have this one. Chuck Norris could kill 2 stones with 1 bird. Chuck Norris didn't do push-ups. He pushed the earth down, like I mentioned. Chuck Norris could strangle you with a cordless phone. Chuck Norris beat the sun in a staring contest in heaven. Even miracles check with Chuck Norris, RIP legend. So when you have that in regards of the jokes, right? They're humane, right? Chuck Norris could strangle you with a cordless phone. Chuck Norris beat the sun in a staring contest. When he was born, he drove his mother from the hospital. And that's how people are choosing to remember him. And that matters because those jokes are not disrespectful. They are a form of cultural appreciation. And they're a way of saying this guy was larger than life. Even in death, people aren't treating him like he's gone. They're treating him like he's still out there somewhere leveling up. Just like the last Instagram post said, as you guys heard Chuck Norris on March 10th in the video I showed you, he said, I don't age, I level up, which perfectly captures his legacy. But then you got the other side, and this is where things go completely off the rails. Because instead of focusing on his life or his impact, you got people immediately pivoting to politics, immediately trying to figure out what he believed and who he supported. And the moment they found out he was a conservative, that he supported Trump, that he supported Israel, suddenly it becomes rest in piss, right? Suddenly it becomes one less Trumper, in quotes. And if you don't believe me, this was another humane appreciation for Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris didn't die. The Grim Reaper died and they begged him to take the job. Now, this is the one where I say individuals are turning into politics because Chuck Norris was a Trump supporter and he was a conservative. This is the disrespect now that I want you guys to see that I'm talking about currently. It says, just found that Chuck Norris is actually a raging Zionist. Free Palestine and rest in peace. The disrespect, right? So then you have this other one. I don't give a F. Chuck Norris died. One less Trumper. And then you have another one, disrespectful. And I don't know how these individuals could sleep at night. But at the end of the day, the energy you give, the energy you will receive back, right? Karma. And suddenly it becomes, I don't care, he died. And you have people saying that they used to respect him, but now they don't, which is insane when you actually think about it, because what they are admitting is that their respect for a person is completely conditional on political agreement. Because you see this right here. I've been presented new information, prayers down. That is wild to me, right? And it's like the internet gets uglier every day. So when we seen this pattern before, because we saw it with Hulk Hogan, right? When he passed away recently, rest in peace to him, my heart goes to the family. And we've seen it with multiple public figures, because the playbook is always the same. Wait for the death, check the politics, and then decide whether or not that person deserves basic human decency. Peep how I say it for the people in the back, basic human decency. And that is not normal behavior, because you don't have to agree with someone politically to acknowledge their impact or show respect. But for a certain group of people, politics have become so central to their identity that it overrides everything else, including common decency and basic humanity. So now I want you guys to check out this next clip I got queued up.
New York, and back in the breaking news, the family of Chuck Norris saying that the Walker, Texas Ranger star has died at the age of 86. Carly Shimkus joins us now here in New York for more on the life of an American legend.
Man, oh man, American legend. Let's repeat that one. And we woke up to news yesterday that Chuck Norris was hospitalized in Hawaii. TMZ reported this happened on the island of Kauai. Over a medical emergency. We don't know the details of what that was just yet, but we do have indication that this happened all of a sudden because a friend of his said that they were talking on the phone. He was in good spirits. He was cracking jokes, and he just celebrated a birthday earlier this month. And I was looking at his social media, and he noted his birthday by sparring with his trainer.
Of course.
I mean, as one does when you're Chuck Norris, and his caption was, "I don't age, I level up," kind of leaning into that internet meme about himself.
What did the family have to say?
All sad today. Well, they released a beautiful and lengthy statement, and we have it here if we could pull it up. They say, "It is with heavy hearts that our family share the sudden passing of our beloved Chuck Norris yesterday morning. While we would like to keep the circumstances private, please know that he was surrounded by his family and was at peace. To the world, he was a martial artist, actor, and a symbol of strength. To us, he was a devoted husband, a loving father and grandfather, an incredible brother, and the heart of our family. Wow. He lived his life with faith, purpose, and unwavering commitment to the people he loved. Through his work, discipline, and kindness, he inspired millions around the world and left a lasting impact on so many lives." I mean, just imagine those beautiful words. Clearly, as they say, the heart of the family. He had 5 children. And of course, Walker, Texas Ranger was his main role that I think most people know about him in the movie world, but martial arts. I mean, he was a black belt in like 7 different types of martial art. Taekwondo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, karate. What a career.
And this is where you see the impact, which is a blessing, right? Because at the end of the day, he served with a purpose. everybody should be productive and obviously understand that everything you do is not just for you, right? Because, for example, you may learn something and you may think that, okay, that was just your experience, but that wisdom you can pass on to the next person, and then it could prevent someone from going through all those hoop and hurdles because you have been through something that you have been blessed with and granted to be able to share with others, to be able to uplift and help them, right? So I say all that to say that it's a beautiful thing. And to be honest, he had a full life, which you don't see that much nowadays because people are basically, passing away left and right, unfortunately. But, he took care of himself. And obviously, he even said, feeling good, just natural death. But he said, look, I level up. At 86 years old, you have a man saying, I don't age, I level up. And that tells you right there that he's basically was living his fullest life to the fullest and also understanding he had a purpose to serve, let alone his impact. But understand that as long as he was on this earth, there was still work that needed to be done. So you have people get complacent and they feel like, oh, well, there's nothing else for me to do when there's always something to do. And I believe he left a powerful message just off that alone before he passed to show you the importance of success and what success entails, but also being able to understand what a fulfilled life looks like. Take away the politics stuff, take away the Christian value stuff, but actually from a humane standpoint. For those who may not be, spiritual, and for those who are political junkies, just take all that aside, strip that away, and then tell me who you are. And I feel like that's what he said. Look, I'm still moving and grooving. And thank God he went in peace. He wasn't there was no type of challenge, health wise or anything like that. That was extreme, right? So with that being said, this is where we need to zoom out because what you're seeing here, it's not just about Chuck Norris. This is a much bigger cultural problem where everything is now filtered through an extreme political lens. And there was a time in this country where people could strongly disagree and still respect each other, still recognize contributions, right? And still rally around shared cultural figures, I should say, shared cultural figures. And Chuck Norris was one of those figures. He wasn't divisive. He wasn't controversial. He was widely respected. But now everything gets pushed through this ideological purity test, where if you don't align with a certain set of views, you're not just wrong, you're treated as morally unacceptable. And once someone is placed in that category, suddenly anything goes. Mockery, disrespect, even celebrating their death, as you guys can see on the screen. It says, I was sorry to learn this morning that Chuck Norris has passed away, having competed in martial arts for years as a kid and a teen. Always appreciated Norris. Then I heard that he was a staunch conservative and a huge supporter of Mike Huckabee. I won't miss him much anymore. And then you have someone right here. This is the last one. This is how I found out he was actually a huge Zionist bigot. So you guys get the point, right, through the political lens, right? The mockery, the disrespect, celebrating his death. And that's exactly what we're seeing play out here. And let's be very clear about something else. Chuck Norris being conservative, supporting the Second Amendment, supporting traditional American values, those are not fringe beliefs. Those are ideas rooted directly in the Constitution and the founding principles of this country. And the Second Amendment exists because the founders understood that an armed citizen should be armed, put it like that, because that word got me all tongue-tied, is a safeguard against tyranny. And Supreme Court rulings like the District of Columbia v. Heller and New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin have reaffirmed that the right to bear arms is an individual right, not a privilege granted by the government. And yet holding those views today is enough for certain people to completely write you off as a person. And if you don't believe me that Chuck Norris was a conservative, I want you guys to check out this clip that I have queued up in regards to that.
Question for you, good
sir.
Why are you a conservative, sir?
Well, I used to be a Democrat, but unfortunately the Democrats went too far to the left, and the Republicans moved into their position that the Democrats were 40 years ago. See, and so what the Democrats believed 40 years ago, the Republicans believe today. And so I realized that I had to go to a Republican because the Democrats just got too far off the trail. They just got completely off the trail and lost all reality of what America stood for. And so I realized that Republicans at this point in time are more focused on what is best for America than what the Democrats are.
Actually, our pastor agrees with you. He says that he's technically a classical liberal, but which basically means he's, but is today a conservative.
Yeah, right. Well, President Kennedy, John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy today would be a Republican.
He would be a Republican, yes, he would.
See, because then, you know, Democrats were more what the Republicans were today. And unfortunately, they lost their way. They lost their way, and so now we're Republicans.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I found my way. I lost it in 2008, and I voted for Obama. So don't feel too bad. I had to tell them the truth, you know. But I found my way through the era of.
Well, you know, the thing is, if Obama would have fulfilled his promises, then he would have become one of the best presidents we ever had. But I was afraid when he was saying all this that it was not going to happen, and that was what I was fearful of. Is him saying that, you know, he's going to keep everything transparent, where C-SPAN would see all the bills and everything that was needed to be done. He did not fulfill one promise, and so, you know, it's sad.
But it's going to be young people like you that keep our America going.
Yeah, it's people like you that's going to change this around for us in this country.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Norris, for coming out here and supporting him and supporting
that.
But before you guys start posting tribute posts, videos, what have you, you should know that Chuck Norris was a Trump supporter. He endorsed him back in 2016. He even supported him in 2020 and 2024. That's why you don't see me posting "Rest in peace, Chuck Norris." The guy was a bigot.
Okay, so martial arts legend Chuck Norris has passed away at the age of 86, and you do not need to feel bad for him. A lot of people don't know this, but Chuck Norris was actually an icon in the Republican space, and he did advocate for conservative values and even wrote conservative editorial. Chuck Norris endorsed Donald Trump in 2016, in 2020, and again in 2024 after he already tried to overthrow the government. He also endorsed Mike Huckabee, who is a Zionist and the current ambassador to Israel. Mike Huckabee has said that he wants Israel to steal other countries that are nearby so that it could unlock the Armageddon where Jesus vaporizes all of us. He also denies the Shmenocide in Palestine as well. And Chuck Norris, like a lot of actors, started off as more progressive, but in his older age decided to abandon all his values and be conservative instead. He was one of those, oh, I used to be a Democrat, but they just went too far. But somehow the Republican Party being overrun by PDF files, that wasn't too far for him, at least. And somebody watching this video is probably thinking like, wow, bro, like just because he was a Republican, you're going to mock him now that he's gone? His body's not even cold yet. And I want to state for the record that if he was just a Trump supporter, I'd be like, all right, like you're allowed to be stupid. I don't think that I need to make a video about you. But here's the thing, like he was a political operative for a fascist government, okay? All those little Chuck Norris memes are being flipped against us because people are like, oh, Chuck Norris is cool. I'll vote for whoever Chuck Norris said. Now look at us. We got a war in the Middle East. The economy is crashing, and it's all because of Chuck Norris's political beliefs.
The ignorance, man. I gotta fact check him. I can't let him just say that. I can't let him. He could go out like that, but I'm not going out like that. We're not in a war. We're in an operation. And recently, Trump said yesterday, it's basically over. We went in there, we did the damn thing. We bombed Iran and we kept it pushing. But let's continue.
If you're less than like 45 years old, the only reason why you know Chuck Norris is because of the memes, and those were not created by him. They were created by the internet. He's not Jackie Chan, he's scumbag Steve.
So Chuck Norris has died at the age of 86, and a lot of people are mourning Chuck Norris currently, but I do want to be a reminder that Chuck Norris is cool with Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu.
Hold on, bro. Hold on. It bothers me. I have learned that a lot of liberals have nose piercings. This man is talking about another man, the character of another man, and you got a piercing on your nose. I'm not saying like, look, do what you want to do, but I'm just saying the simple fact is take the speck out of your own eye before you judge someone. So right now, you basically got a pierced booger in your nose, and you think I'm supposed to hear what you want to say. But anyway, let's continue, family. Let's continue.
Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu goes on to say, Sarah and I were deeply saddened to hear of the passing of Chuck Norris, a great friend of Israel and a close personal friend. Chuck brought martial arts and the warmth of his character to millions around the world. May his memory be a blessing. And if you don't believe me, let me show you guys a clip of him endorsing Benjamin Netanyahu way back in 2015.
I'm Chuck Norris, and I would like to say hello to all my friends in Israel. I watched Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech before Congress and saw a man who loves his country with all his heart and soul. I also saw a strong leader, which is absolutely crucial for the safety of the Israeli people. I have done 3 movies in Israel, Delft Force being my favorite, and I formed many friendships while there. You have an incredible country, and we want to keep it that way.
So mourn Chuck Norris if you want. Just know he was good friends with Benjamin Netanyahu.
I thought Chuck Norris wanted to talk about this guy used his fame to damage America and really represented MAGA far before MAGA ever was a thing. Chuck Norris was one of the first people with any amount of fame to support California Proposition 8, which sought to ban same-sex marriage. Chuck Norris, who was a big fan of Ronald Reagan, loved his faith, right? Wrote an article for townhall.com on November 18th, 2008 called If Democracy Doesn't Work, Try Anarchy. And I quote, the days of peaceful marches such as those headed up by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. seem to be long gone. The truth is that the great majority of Prop 8 advocates are not bigots or hate mongers. They're American citizens who are following 5,000 years of human history. 5,000 years, might want to fact check that there, Chuck. And the belief of every major people and religion. Marriage is a sacred union between a man and a woman. Their Prop 8 votes weren't intended to deprive any group of its rights. They were safeguarding their honest convictions regarding the boundaries of marriage. Chuck knew a whole lot about the boundaries of marriage, right? Because he cheated on his first wife, which resulted in a child. And then he's talking about these are the boundaries of marriage, the sanctity of marriage, right? When he wants to deprive other people of their rights. Chuck was also a very loud and proud Christian, right? Allegedly. In 2016, when he endorsed Donald Trump, here are some of the reasons he gave for that. He said Trump is sincere. He met him once 42 years ago, said, quote, I haven't seen or spoken to him since. However, I'll tell you, I liked him. He was very friendly and sincere.
I'm going to be the too woke wet blanket. I don't want to hear Chuck Norris facts. In case you haven't heard, Chuck Norris just died, and Chuck Norris was also a notorious far-right conservative. Chuck was also, obviously, a diehard Trump supporter. He was very much a MAGA. He was also very famously anti-LGBT to the point where he ran a campaign to oppose the Boy Scouts allowing gay people to be members. Chuck and his wife also made a PSA stating that if you voted for Obama, you were ushering in 1,000 years of darkness. Also considers Ronald Reagan to be the best president that we ever had. Now, he did say that he used to be a Democrat and they just went too far left, and Republicans represent the values that he grew up with. And just for clarity, Chuck Norris grew up when Democrats were the conservative party who opposed civil rights. So yeah, miss me with your Chuck Norris facts bullshit.
All right, so you guys heard that. All I'm gonna say is, just like I told you guys about the Pierce booger man that we seen, the reality is if he has the choice, just like he does, to be able to put a Pierce booger in his nose, the same way Chuck Norris has the right by choice to be able to, with the freedom to express his beliefs, express his take on what he feels is right for the country. So the reality is Chuck Norris comes off as, obviously I don't know him, but he comes off very with Christian values. Most conservatives are Christian, but just because you're a conservative doesn't mean you're a Christian. But however, these people clearly don't understand geopolitics. They don't understand alliances. They don't understand business partners, right? They don't understand the simple fact of freeing individuals from a dictatorship. And they believe, these far left liberals, that they are in a dictatorship when people are being freed. Thanks for Trump and individuals in Israel. Well, you heard Chuck Norris said he actually had a couple movies he did in Israel, so he's seen it in real time. These people probably haven't seen nothing, but it's funny how they are upset more than individuals who got free from the dictatorship in Israel. But anyway, I say all that to say that as you see that Chuck Norris being a conservative, yet holding those views today is enough for people, certain people, I should say, to completely write you off as a person. Supporting Trump is enough for you to say, enough for people to say you don't deserve respect, even in death. And that's not political disagreement. That's ideological intolerance. Now, if you listen to the other side, they'll argue they're standing up for justice or holding people accountable for harmful views. But when that mindset becomes so extreme that it removes basic empathy, it stops being about justice and starts being about enforcing conformity. And that's the real danger. These people can sit here and throw on air hounding and attacks, and they believe that their opinion and their takes rule all. And once you don't agree with them, just like the far left Democratic Party, they write you off. They demonize you. So you have to go along to get along. You have to go along to get along. You have to agree with everything they say. And once you don't agree with them, you're the problem, right? And it goes back to my stance. Why can't we agree to disagree? Actually, a different perspectives actually creates productive conversation to eventually come to a solution that works based on results, not emotional, not emotionality or not emotions, right? We have to have logic trump emotions. If we let emotions trump logic, then we make ignorant decisions and we speak out of ignorance. And all I heard was personal ad hominem attacks, but no policy or nothing besides Netanyahu, besides Israel, and obviously personally attacking Chuck Norris for messing up in his first marriage or whatever the case may be. The reality is we learn from our mistakes. These individuals are far more perfect than Chuck Norris, right? We are not perfect. None of us are. We learn from our mistakes and we become a better person every single day that we live to see another day. So when you look at all of that, right, that's the real danger here, because once you normalize dehumanizing people over political differences, there is no logical stopping point. And today it's celebrities, tomorrow it's your neighbor, and eventually it becomes anyone who doesn't fall in line politically. At the end of the day, Chuck Norris is not going to be remembered based on angry posts from people online. Thank God. He's going to be remembered for what he actually did, his work, his influence, the memories he created for millions of people. He was a martial artist. He was an actor. He was a cultural icon. God said, and I believe you with this for those who are spiritual believers. And if you don't believe in a higher power, you are basically, you will be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor based on just if you're not spiritual, take away the spirituality part of it. I'm going to say it from a spiritual standpoint because I'm a Christian. I'm going to say it from a non-spiritual standpoint. Spiritual standpoint, God said you will be remembered for the fruits of your labor. From a non-spiritual standpoint, the American roots based on American culture, the freedoms and liberties that we have based on individuals who fought and shed blood for this country was the simple fact that we had opportunities, right? And you could take on as much opportunities as you want. And how hard you worked was based on what you got. You worked hard enough. The American dream was you would be able to be successful in a capitalistic environment, meaning you're able to make as much money as you want, start a business, and you're able to let the market, let alone customers, determine based on the service you give in exchange for services you will get paid. And the sky is the limit, right? So you will be remembered for what you do. And he was part of individuals' childhood, part of their family traditions, part of what made growing up feel normal. And that is not something that can be erased because of politics. And most people are not sitting around analyzing his views right now. They're remembering Walker, Texas Ranger, and they're remembering the action scenes, the jokes, the larger than life persona. They're remembering a guy who represented strength, discipline, and resilience. And the people trying to tear that down are a loud minority, but they do not get to define his legacy. Thank God. Right? So I wanted to put that out there. And now, since I said that, but what this really exposes is a deeper cultural issue where some people can no longer separate political disagreement from basic human decency. I believe, and let me know what you guys think down in the comments, this cancel culture has gone far too long gone. And if we continue down that path, it's only going to get worse, because if someone has to pass a political purity test just to be respected after they die, then we are moving into a very dangerous territory as a country. So the real question is this. I'll leave you with this. If political disagreement is not enough for people to justify disrespecting someone, even in death, where exactly does it stop? And who's next? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you agree or disagree, I want to hear your perspective. Make sure you like the video, share it with someone who needs to see it. Subscribe to the channel, because as always, we just having a conversation. Turn on your post notifications so you don't miss the next one. On that note, family, peace.